हेलो। हाँ। हाँ, गुड मॉर्निंग। ओके। हाँ हाँ।
Start our lecture within 5 minutes. Start with our today's session. I welcome all the participants and especially our guest speaker, Dr. Usha Patel, ma'am. A very good morning to you, and also good morning to everyone. I wish all of you a very happy new year, a happy 2022, and we wish from APPI Gujarat State and Telegalaxy Healthcare Rehabilitation Private Limited and Forum a very new year, which brings you a lot of joy, happiness, good health, indeed wealth, and have a rocking year ahead. So today's lecture uh, on physiology of happiness, or happy chemicals of brain, which is organized by APPI Gujarat State Branch and in association with Telegalaxy Healthcare Rehabilitation Private Limited and Forum. So, uh, before coming to the actual session, I would like to add something on this, that in this era of stress and fastening of life, we have forgot to be happy, which is actually inside of us. We don't have to find it outside, it is inside of us. The science of happiness, the physiology of happiness. And as Sir is messaging, Vishwanathan Sir is messaging that in some days we would the patients would come to a doctor saying that mere paas bangla hoga, gaadi hai, sab kuch hai, but I don't have happiness, right? So how happiness comes from within, that is the physiology, the chemistry of happiness is within us, that is in brain, that is in our body, that is in our different systems. uh, Likewise, right, in today's era, we also go and find out happiness in exercise. That exercise will boost your serotonin, happy hormones, dopamine, and whatnot. We are finding happiness outside to improve our within chemistry. So, happiness not only improves our health, not only improves our surrounding relationship, but also it improves and aligns our body, soul, spirit, mind, everything. So today, Dr. Usha Patel ma'am, she's the assistant professor at LG Hospital, AMC Mac Medical College, Maninagar, Ahmedabad, will lighten us with how these happy hormones actually works in our body and how it uh, can improve our health and how can we be happy living ahead our 2022 and lot more years. So I welcome you, ma'am. So I'm giving my just a minute, ma'am. So I am giving my mic to you, over you. Yes, ma'am, you are audible now.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Chaitali. You briefed the whole topic very nicely. Now I'm going into the detail.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, over to you.
Okay, then I will start.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good morning to everybody, to my respected teachers, colleagues. So today I am going to talk about the happy chemicals inside our brain, which maintains the normal physiology of the human being. Let me tell you first, Happy New Year to all. May this year bring so much happiness and all achievements in your life. So, all of you want to remain happy. Everyone is in search of happiness. But all of you may be experiencing that this happiness is always temporary, it is not everlasting. In physiological term, how will you going to define happiness? Sometimes it is defined as it is a subjective feeling of the range of positive emotions. So we often use this terminology. The happiness is nothing but the positive emotions that come by joy, pride, contentment in the life, by getting something new, or with the gratitude. So this subjective feeling is never lasting long. So we always trying to get the happiness in this creation. But as the superpower made this world not complete, that's why we are not getting complete happiness without realizing him. So it captures the fleeting positive emotion that come with happiness with a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in life. So in spiritual language, when you come to the terminology happiness, man, means when you are getting the higher level of consciousness, you can understand the whole meaning of creation. then and then you will get the proper concentration of all happy chemicals inside our body, and you feel the happy. Now, the big question is, can any hormone or chemicals make you happy? Yes, of course. So every great saint also told, you are not need to search the happiness outside in this world. But when you are going inside your body, you can get the true happiness by releasing all these chemicals. So the feeling that we are experience of happiness is nothing but the chemical reactions are taking place inside our bodies. So whenever you are passing through any kind of good or bad emotions, that will going to release certain types of chemicals in form of hormone, and that particular chemical hormones give you the pleasure or sadness effect. So some hormones are going to give you feeling of good, some they are going to feeling of bad. So in that way you can define the which chemicals may be going to make you happy. So there are list number of the happy hormones like dopamine, serotonin, endorphin, phenylethylamine, or phenyl, or you can say PE or phenylethylamine, oxytocin, ghrelin, adrenaline. Even though it is secreted to overcome the fearful and fright conditions, it is not considered as a happy hormone because long term it will going to give you stress only. Now, all these happy hormones, whether it is dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin, they are all going to produce inside our cerebral cortex limbic system, mainly in the pituitary gland, hypothalamus, substantia nigra. Lots of experiments are done by the scientists to identify the exact proper area of the cerebral cortex, maybe the occipitofrontal region, pituitary midbrain, internal capsule nucleus, or prefrontal cortex. But it needs so much research, and then you can say exact mechanism as well as exact pathway which are responsible for leading to the happiness. Now, again, which type of happy habits can lead to the production of happy chemicals? So whenever you are having any kind of the happy habit, then we are going to repeat that habit. Why? Because by repetition, our brain is unconsciously, without any intention, going to release that particular chemicals in the form of dopamine, serotonin. And that's why we are repeating the same behavior that we have previously felt. So without conscious intention, this happy habit, they are going to develop a or pave a very good neural pathway of happiness, mainly in the substantia pathway in our limbic system. So every time our brain try to expect to always feel good by something doing good, and that has must be done in the past also before. So in that way, this whole circuit is developed inside the brain, but sometimes you may not be feeling good. So in that circumstances, you can rewire yourselves to replace the unwanted habit with the healthier habit. So always try to make a good habit and replace the dirty habit. In that way, you can secrete more and more this dopamine, serotonin in your neural pathway. So here today, I am going to discuss certain new habit plan that will all becomes natural, and then you will get the constant enough quantity of this happy hormones inside our body with a very few side effect. So these happy hormones are nothing but they are actually secreted in response to the certain happy habits, and they are cocktail of all the hormones like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. So how these hormones are constantly trying to produce inside our body, whenever there is happiness, that particular genes are going to get activated. We are all inherited our all these genes from our earlier animals. So whenever we are repeating that particular happy habit, the genes get provoked, and the same time it was stimulated and producing all these happy chemicals, because all this dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin, they are nothing but they are protein or amino acid derivative compound. Now, the secretion of these happy hormones is never constant. It mostly occurs in the pulsatile manner. So you can correlate easily with the roller coaster ride in our amusement park. So this always secreted. That's why we can say no one is happy in this creation, because the concentration of this happy hormones never remain constant. These hormones are important to overcome the problem, so you can maintain the balance in the life. So this hormone always release in the very short spurt, and whenever they are going to drop, you are again going into the down mood. So you generally, they can manage your ups and downs properly. And this brain is designed in such a way with these genes, they not allow you to make feel happy all the times. Because if you remain very happy all the time, sometimes there must be a disadvantage. You are going into very much euphoric condition, egoistic condition, you may take the very wrong decisions. But whenever you are depressed, you try to get love, and huge that love is the most important motivator for the stimulation of all happy hormone. And that's why the reproductive behavior, it triggers the huge spurt of happy brain chemicals, and we can get attachment in this world. And disappointment of love feels to lack of survival threat to our mammalian brain. And so, in that condition, you are going to secrete more and more stressful hormones like cortisol, and they are going to hamper the normal cardiovascular system as well as brain. Person may be leading to the depression, hypertension, diabetes mellitus. So now, can someone become? Big question is, can someone become a happy if he altered this hormone level inside the body? So by cultivating certain new habits that are concerned with the release of all this dopamine, serotonin, you are going to raise the concentration of this hormone, and you can become happy whenever you are facing any problem. So certainly all this hormone makes you happy whenever you are putting in the mind, I want to become happy. And in that condition, you try to cultivate new habit and then try to solve your problems. And once you solve the problems, then you can overcome that situations. And these happy hormone release, you have to keep in the mind that this, if you are not dealing with the problem properly, this happiness is not going to last for longer period. So because of decrease in the concentration of all this happy hormone. So simply because they can help you ease your pain and feel better until you deal with your problem, these happy chemicals are useful. Now we are going to go through the detail of each: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphin. Very first is dopamine, most important hormone, which is normally produced in the substantia nigra of the brain. It, it is also known as a reward chemical. So dopamine, when it is secreted, it will generally have a increase in the cognitive function. It will make you mentally alert. So persons, when they are having enough quantity of dopamine, then it will become more attentive, and then it can concentrate very nicely. So whenever dopamine concentration is decreased, then that person maybe feel lazy, then apathetic, lack of concentration, depressive mood. So dopamine gives you the feeling of well-being as well as enjoyment. How this dopamine is going to secreted? The dopamine is synthesized mainly inside the substantia tract in brain from the phenylalanine and tyrosine amino acid. When body is having the enough quantity of tyrosine amino acid residue, it can directly produce. But whenever there is a lacking in tyrosine amino acid residue, this phenylalanine, which is an essential amino acid, is converted into the tyrosine amino acid in the presence of molecular oxygen and the coenzyme tetrahydrobiopterin, which is most important for the conversion of phenylalanine to the tyrosine. It is one type of hydroxylation reactions, and we are getting non-essential tyrosine amino acid residue. And these dihydrobiopterin can be converted back into the tetrahydrobiopterin with the help of one molecule of NADPH. Now this tyrosine molecule undergo the same process of hydroxylation with the same tetrahydrobiopterin molecule into the dihydroxyphenylalanine, and that is known as a DOPA. And these DOPA undergo the process of carboxylation and produce dopamine. Now this is one of the most important hormone which is secreted in the substantia nigra pathway, and that will feels you happy. But whenever stressful conditions in our body, the same dopamine which is present inside the adrenal medulla cortex of the kidney, it is converted into the stress hormone, that is norepinephrine and epinephrine, and then gradually it is excreted in the form of phenylmandelic acid. Now, how can you increase the secretion of this dopamine? So whenever you are doing something good things, so you are going to increase the joy in the your life as well as surrounding. So whenever you are kicking a goal, achieving a target, or accomplishing any task, that will give you the hit of dopamine level inside the brain, and your brain is telling you have done a great job. Now, to whenever you are doing something kind or voluntary seva on the regular basis at any place, maybe the hospital, satsang center, temple, that will also going to give you a regular hit of dopamine, and that will feel you good. Sometimes this hope dopamine level can also increase when you are containing the diet which are rich in this protein and tyrosine amino acid residue. When you are listening the inspiring music, getting massage by yourself, completing a physical exercise workout properly, that will also going to stimulate the release of dopamine. New love stimulates the loss of dopamine, so try to love each and every creation of the world. Dopamine drops when you get the reward. So you have to always sight for the new target. So once you get the accomplishment, I got it. So your dopamine is going to decreasing. And in that, they are going to create a memory. So you are going to repeat the same habit trying to achieve the level of higher concentration of dopamine. So dopamine flow when you feel like I have done it. But once you achieved, then it will going to decrease. So here I can just, I want to tell you one most important thing. According to our new NMC guidelines, they told the doctor should be a lifelong learner. So here this is very much important to maintain our dopamine level. So as we are a lifelong learner, we are trying to learn more new and new. So we are trying to getting more and more targets. So we are trying to accomplish that particular target by learning new things. So we are constantly maintaining our dopamine level. Now, when this dopamine is released in enough quantity, it will cause expectation. You can also predict any means that is the your sixth sense is also going to increase, and you can bring the good sensation. And this dopamine is also helpful for the achieving the that particular task. So it will release the loss of energy, so you can achieve that particular goal. And dopamine feels you great, so you get more and more dopamine level. Now what is going to happen in the drug addict? This cocaine, heroin, they are all concerned, all opioid receptor, they are all concerned with the release of dopamine in our body. So this type of persons are trying to achieve this higher concentration of dopamine in the body. And the here, as I told you, anything is excess is dangerous. So here any without goal, if they are taking much more amount of this drug, that will ultimately lead to the depression and withdrawal symptoms also when they are not getting. But higher level of dopamine in that condition is not at all helpful because they don't have any specific goal. Now, the most important is oxytocin. It is also known as a love hormone. It is nothing but the nonapeptide hormone or 9 amino acid peptide hormone, which is normally produced in the hypothalamus and released by the posterior pituitary gland. This oxytocin is mainly secreted during the labor, important for the contraction of the uterus to expel the fetus and in breastfeeding. In the man, the role of oxytocin is not properly understood, but some research say it is important for the movement of the sperm. So it is involved in the release of testosterone from the testes also. Now, this oxytocin is not only important for the fetus and breastfeeding and for sperm, but nowadays research also says it is most important for the normal human behavior and social interactions. So this oxytocin is helpful for the creating bond, whether between for mother, infant, or interpersonal in the recognition during sexual arousal, trust, and anxiety also. So this oxytocin have very good effect on the social function. It increase the bonding behavior, and that bonding is ultimately going to create the group memory. With the dopamine, you can just create a individual memory, but whenever oxytocin release in our body, you can create a group memories. You can identify the person, so social recognition is increased, other social functions. Whenever you are going to attend, you are feeling good. So this oxytocin increase the feeling of love. Here, this love, it is not between male and female, but whenever you see the any creature in this world, they are all nothing but the light source of the supernatural power God. So give the selfless love to each and every creation, whether it is insect, reptiles, or animals or birds. And that's why this oxytocin is very much important for the sexual interaction with any species in the world, and that's why it is known as a love chemical or love hormone. And that can be increased by the touch, trust, hugging the individual, birth and sex. Now reduce anxiety. This oxytocin, it is important for the reduce anxiety, stress, adapting the high level emotional situation. But the disadvantage of high level of this oxytocin in the man lead to the benign prostatic hypertrophy, and low level in the woman that will lead to decreased milk ejection. Now, how will you going to raise the oxytocin level? You can increase the release of the oxytocin by increasing the trust between your friends, family. So most important thing is selfless love is going to increase the oxytocin concentration. So it feels good when I trust you and you trust me. So not automatically the oxytocin level is going to increase from the posterior pituitary gland. So whenever we are in the group, we are in the herd, we are having enough quantity of oxytocin and we feel very good. But whenever we are detached from anybody or we are going to separated, then that social bonds is interacted. So in that condition, brain feels alarm, and that's why we are feeling a loneliness. And in that conditions, the oxytocin is going to decrease. So the oxytocin is most important hormone in our ancestors from all kinds of form. They are trying to remain in the herd. So oxytocin drops when you are separated from the herd. So I think all of you have seen all the COVID patient whenever they are quarantined for 15 days, they are going to separate it from their family members, means herd. And that's why they are having less concentration of oxytocin, and that's why they are feeling depression. So in summary, oxytocin flow can be increased when you are along with your pack. So in that condition, you think my pack is great and others is not. So now in the body, if you want to increase this oxytocin, you can go during loneliness, go for the holistic yoga, massage, meditation, listening to the music. You can go for the conversion on the phone with the family and friends, cooking for those who care about, and give and receiving the love is also one of the most important way of rising oxytocin in our body. Now this oxytocin, that's why nowadays not only used for the contraction of the labor, means it is not used as a initiation of labor process or prevention of pph, but it is also used for the psychiatric therapy like phobia, autism and postpartum depression. So this oxytocin improve the interpersonal and individual well-being. That's why it is mostly used for the neuropsychiatric disorder for people. And children with the autism means they are having difficulty in social interactions. So in that condition also this oxytocin is having very good role. And sometimes it is important for the anger management also. So in all these conditions, it is important for the maintaining the relationship. So you can control the aggressive behavior. And as this irritable bowel syndrome, it is also related with the disturbed psychiatric phenomena. This oxytocin is even helpful. Now, third most important happy chemicals which is released in our brain all time continuously, that is serotonin. So dopamine and serotonin are the two most important chemicals that are constantly maintained in our body and trying to make us feel happy. Now, this serotonin is mainly produced inside the brain, mast cells, as well as platelet and gastrointestinal mucosa. As you learned about the dopamine, it is derived from the aromatic essential amino acid like phenylalanine. The serotonin is also derived from one of the most important aromatic essential tryptophan amino acid. And here the reactions which are going to synthesize the serotonin. They are similar to that of dopamine. So again, this tryptophan is going same biochemical reaction of hydroxylation in the presence of tetrahydrobiopterin and converted into the coenzyme into the dihydrobiopterin, and with this molecular oxygen hydroxylation reaction of this tryptophan molecule occur, and that will going to form 5-hydroxytryptophan. And now these 5-hydroxytryptophan undergo the process of decarboxylation that is again PLP dependent vitamin B6 and producing the serotonin. And this serotonin is one of the most important happy hormones which are present in the brain as a neurotransmitter, and it is then inside the pineal gland, it is converted into acetyl serotonin and melatonin. So this serotonin undergo the acetylation process with the help of acetyl coenzyme A, and with the methionine as activated methionine, it is converted into the melatonin. Now the synthesis of melatonin is occurring inside the pineal gland, which is important for the maintenance of normal healthy sleep, and it maintains the normal circadian rhythm of the sleep in our body. So ultimately person is getting calmness, and whatever remaining excess it is going to degrade with the help of this MAO enzyme into the 5-hydroxy indolacetic acid compound. Now the main function of the serotonin is for the transmission of nerve impulses. So it is one of the most important neurotransmitter inside the brain. So brains, in the brain cells, serotonin is mainly in the bound form, and it will stimulate the cerebral activity. So whenever the concentration of serotonin is decreased, the person is feeling the mood disorder, and it will maybe having this schizophrenic like attack. So second most important function in the peripheral tissue, it acts as a vascular smooth muscle contraction, and that's why it is known as a potent vasoconstrictor and producing the blood pressure. Second, it is the whenever you are consuming the protein rich diet, that will lead to alertness. How? Because all this protein rich diet is having amino acid, 20 amino acid, and among all the 20 amino acid, tryptophan is considered as a bulkiest amino acid, and it is taken up very slowly in the brain tissue, and ultimately this tryptophan not be converted properly into the serotonin and melatonin, and that's why it will lead to alertness. But whenever person consuming the carbohydrate rich diet, in that condition our body try to secrete enough quantity of insulin, and in that case the insulin will helpful to take up all the 20 amino acids, and that 20 amino acid taken in the peripheral tissue for the new synthesis of protein, and at that time the brain can easily take up this tryptophan amino acid, and these tryptophan amino acid now converted into the serotonin as well as melatonin, and ultimately it will induce the sleep. So in generally we always used to say the carbohydrate induced diet leads to the sleep, while the protein makes you alert because of the enough quantity of this serotonin and melatonin. Now, serotonin level is found to be low in patient of depressive psychosis and schizophrenia. That's why we are giving the drugs which can increase the level of serotonin. So the serotonin is having role in the mood, sleep, appetite, temperature regulation, as well as that will makes you allow the feeling of happiness. As it is concerned with the contraction of the smooth muscle, it is associated with the increase in the gastrointestinal motility. And whatever excess serotonin, it is going to metabolize via MAO. That serotonin is excreted in the urine in the form of 5-hydroxyindoleacetic acid. So in person of depression and psychiatric disorder, we are generally prescribing this MAO inhibitor. So in that, we are trying to increase the serotonin level, and ultimately that will lead to mood elevation. Now this serotonin, why it is considered as a happy hormone? Because it will increase the pleasure of our social domains. So whenever there is enough quantity of serotonin in our brain, we are not feeling aggressiveness. We are having calm sense. Whether we are going to get or not, we are contented all the time. I will get the banana. Serotonin, it is immediately metabolized into the indole acetic acid. So we are always looking for the new stimulus for. So whenever you enjoy the attention of someone important, that will also going to boost your serotonin, and that will give you the feeling of contentment. You are having some little bit of ego, means your chest is going to swell and you are having pride. You get the respect and needn't hide. So whenever enough quantity of serotonin, you can maintain your personality properly. But whenever concentration is decreased, you are going into the mood disorders. So brain feels good when you boost yourself with a high. But when others do for you this, it provokes their ego. I don't care about the status, it is other who do. So in here, the spot of serotonin is trying to keep you limelights always on you. And you become very humble. You never don't like to talk with the pride with other. Little bit of ego is there, but you never talk with the pride. And now whenever anybody try to give you that, that they are going to depends on, they have done for you, or you are trying to compete with each other, in that condition no serotonin will flow. So, but no serotonin flows when you cost, means when you are counting something. Status doesn't depend on money. You can be clever, helpful, or funny, but when other one up you, means whenever you are competing with anybody, and if anybody is going up than you, in that condition mind will get irritated, and that will lead to the serotonin secretion drop, means decrease in the serotonin concentration inside the brain tissue. So never try to compete with anybody, never analyze anybody. Then and then you can maintain the proper serotonin level. So how will you increase the serotonin level to maintain the day-to-day happiness in our body? Try to walk in the sunlight. Means you have to go into the sunlight, and that will lead to increased synthesis of serotonin. Eating food which are rich in the mainly tryptophan amino acid like cheese, peanut, pumpkin, sesame seed, milk, and turkey, that will again convert more tryptophan into the serotonin. High carbohydrate diet, of course, I tell the mechanism about this. Exercising for brisk walk, that will lead to increase the confidence, and that will lead to release of serotonin. If you focus on your losses, then you will depress your serotonin. So never see that negative aspect. Try to remain contented, whether you are going to get or not. Means always be positive in the life. Means whatever happens, it is happens for good. That thinking will help you to raise your serotonin level. And of course meditation, which is most important food for soul, as we are taking the food in the form of macro and micronutrient, carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamins, that is going to nurture our body. But this meditation is important for maintaining the soul energy, that is nothing but all these chemicals. Now last most important, sorry, fourth most important happy chemicals, that is endorphin. What are they, endorphin, and what they purpose serve, and that will lead to happiness. So endorphin, as it is also known as a endogenous opioid, means endogenous morphine. Morphines are, all of you are knowing, they are the painkiller. So these are again protein derivative peptides. They are mostly released again from the hypothalamus and pituitary gland in the controlled release manner. So whenever person is having severe type of pain, in that emergency situation, all endorphins are going to release. They are most important neurotransmitter, and hormones act on the opioid receptors. So the main mechanism of this endorphin is to relieve the perception of pain once they are going to bind with this opioid receptors. And these uh, all endorphins are mainly synthesized in the form of very long polypeptide chain around 241 amino acid known as a pro-opiomelanocortin, POMC, and then it is cleaved with the so many peptidase enzymes, and ultimately having 31 amino acid residue of different types of endorphin like enkephalin, beta endorphin, and dynorphin. So these are derived from this pro-opiomelanocortin polypeptide chain. The main action of this endorphin, means endogenous morphine, that it is mostly released during the emergency condition in your body to decrease our pain sensation, or you can say increase the pain threshold. So they are going to act as a pain reliever. They can be also increased naturally in our body during exercise, sex, cycling, or laughing, as well as certain painful stimulus like twisting your ankle. So, by masking the pain effect, you can have the hope for the survival. So, whenever you are laughing in the group, again, it will give you the chance of release of lots of endorphin in your body, and that will give you happy life. So main effect or benefit of this endorphin is the reduction of pain and discomfort which you are facing daily in our life, increase the sensation of pleasure. So you can feel always good whenever there is enough quantity of endorphin. It also important in the reduction of stress, depression, anxiety. This is also going to involve reduce the inflammatory process. So in COVID era, all of you must be knowing by watching all the different type of happy movies that is going to increase our mood and feeling happiness, and that will important to attenuate the inflammatory process. So by positive thinking and enjoying, you can overcome the any kind of infection also. It also improves the mood, increase your self-esteem, and support the healthy immune systems. And indirectly, whenever you are feeling happy, healthy, you are having good memory and also good cognitive function. So the best way, try to boost up your endorphin to overall well-being of yourselves. So whenever body is not having enough quantity of this endorphin, then you are having lots of problems. Means your pain threshold lower. So whenever you are even minor injury, you are feeling much more pain. So increase this aches and pain whenever there is not enough quantity of endorphin is secreted in our body. And ultimately that excessive feeling of pain, aches, that will lead to the anxiety and depression. You lose the mood, lost the moodiness. You can become the drug addict, and sometimes you cannot having proper sleeps. So all this sleep related disorder, hypertension, diabetes may be going to develop. So most of the migraine patients, when you see, they are all having this type of low level of endorphin. Now, which are the different ways of boosting or of your endorphin? First, most important is the exercise. The role of this exercise is to overcome the depression and overcome the depression and anxiety. So whenever you are performing any kind of exercise, maybe the mild, moderate, or severe, like brisk walking, gentle bike riding, gardening, vigorous intensity of exercise like indoor cycling, playing soccer, running, skiing. So all this will lead to the release of certain types of endorphin as well as endocannabinoids, dopamine, and serotonin. And that will feel you the good, and that's why they are giving you much more happiness. Now, second most is the laughing. Laugh is considered as a best medicine because whenever you are hearing any funny movie, funny jokes, and then you are going to laugh, and that laughing will release lots of endorphin and you feel good. So dopamine and serotonin may be increased during that laughing condition, and they are going to suppress the release of all the stress hormone like cortisol, adrenaline. So ultimately, the laughing is the best exercise to improve your mood and reduce the pain and anxiety. And they will also maintain your immune system. Third most important way is to increase is in listen to the music. Music is not just for the entertainment in your body, but it can support your well-being also. Now, it is so many hospitals are using this music therapy for the interventional surgery. So if you are want to reduce the pain, you have to just give the music. So in that condition, that body try to increase the release of endorphin and diverting your mind. So you can feel the less pain. And sometimes upbeat music can also promote the positive attitude, positive emotion that will lead to enough quantity of release of endorphin as well as dopamine. So by adding your favorite music, you can overcome the any stressful condition and boost your health system. Now, fourth way of getting enough quantity of endorphin is get an acupuncture. This acupuncture, actually, it was a part of traditional Chinese medicine before century, but nowadays all the Western countries are also getting attached with this effective way of getting treatment. The mechanism of acupuncture is not still properly understood, but here it may be related with this, might be reflex inhibition. So the main procedure here is this inserting small needle into the skin. So that will going to stimulate certain kind of hormones or reflex inside the central nervous system, and that will helpful for the release of the pain. Maybe it may be associated with the release of that particular endorphin or reflex inhibition. So when you just, I'm going to you the example of this acupuncture in the ear. When you see the structure, according to the Chinese medicine, the fetus in this ear is representing the inverted fetus, and we are having the certain special type of center in the brain, here in the ear. Here see the occipital center of the brain is at the upper edge of this pinna of ear, then heart, kidney, lung. So whenever you are having the problem in heart, kidney, lung, you have to insert the needle in that particular point, and you can get the relief by secreting the endorphin in that particular region. Now, fifth important way is eating a dark chocolate. This all dark chocolate is considered as a feeling good hormone by releasing this dopamine as well as endorphin, because these dark chocolates are rich in this all polyphenolic compound like flavonoids. So this polyphenolic compound is going to trigger the brain or stimulate the brain to release lots of amount of this endorphin and dopamine. It also increase the level of concentration. And these dark chocolates are also considered a source of caffeine. So they are going to boost our mood. So ideally, dark chocolate contains at least 7% of coca. So you have to stuck with very small per serving. Don't take excess of this, then you may have side effect. Now, heavy sex is also concerned with the release of certain happy hormones like endorphin, dopamine, serotonin. Seventh most important thing is a dance. Entertaining good for your health. Dancing is good practice for the release of all kind of endorphin, and it also important for the cardiorespiratory exercise. You can burn your energy, so you can maintain the proper heart function. You can increase heart rate, and you can elevate the mood by increasing the release of endorphin and decrease the pain. So all type of dancing like Garba or Tabhangra, that will increase the social connectedness also. And ultimately you can increase the release of that oxytocin. So you can reduce the stress level. So whether you are dancing alone or in the group, they are going to boost your spirit. Now last most important way of increasing all happy hormone is via meditation. The meditation is a practice that involves the training one's awareness and becoming more mindful and present. What I told you in the beginning, no one is happy in the creation. But once you get the achieving the higher level of consciousness, then you become permanently happy. So meditation, it is a way of getting permanent happiness by getting a higher level of consciousness. And as the body needs the macro and micronutrients, your soul requires the constantly this meditation as a food. So that will promote your health by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest system. So meditation is helpful for the reducing the body stress response system, which is known as a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Means it is going to suppress the release of all the stress hormone. And they also release the endorphin. Meditation is important for the releasing of endorphin as well as serotonin. So they are having the higher threshold of tolerating the pain. So pain threshold is going to increase whenever person is doing regular meditation. The mechanism is still not fully understood because it is a spiritual aspect. And whenever you are going for meditation, you have to search for perfect mentor. Otherwise, wrong way of meditation may lead into the risk. So it is more related with the acceptance as well as anticipation of pain. Now, what is the difference between endorphin and opioids, which are routinely taken by the drug addicts? Both the endorphins, which are secreted, they are, as the name, it is inside your body. But these opioids are the drugs like morphine, fentanyl, heroin, and they are both are going to act on the same opioid receptor to release the dopamine and endorphin, and you're feeling the goodness in the brain. But when you are taking the opioid drugs, they are having very temporary reaction and soon they are subsiding. And ultimately persons want accustomed or adapted with the higher level of dopamine, and they are trying to gain the high level by taking more and more drugs. So after long-term use of opioid, the body become accustomed to the higher level, and ultimately large dose of this opioid is required to maintain the dopamine level. And that's why the person becomes get addicted for the taking this drug. But when they are going to withdraw this drug, immediately the person is going into the great grief, anxiety, depression, sleeping disorders, appetite disorders, and mood disorders. So try to maintain the enough quantity of endorphin with a natural release in our body. As this endorphin, which is naturally produced, they are having less intense response and they are not getting addiction. Now, last but most important, sorry, last fourth most important, ghrelin. For ghrelin is most important hormone to relieve the stress, and you can feel the relax. It is actually the hormone secreted in the gastrointestinal tract, having 28 amino acid, serine 3 acetylated peptide. And the function of this ghrelin is totally related with the endogenous receptor of growth hormone secretagogue receptor. So the function is similar to the growth hormone secretagogue receptor, but this ghrelin is generally secreted in our body whenever we are feeling some hungriness. So ghrelin release is important for the feeling of good, and it is helpful for the relaxation of stress. So what I want to say, never try to remain full stomach. So whenever you are eating, depending on your body needs, then the ghrelin secretion is enough. But whenever you are having full stomach, overeated, the ghrelin secretion will going to stop. So you are not going to feel good. So ghrelin is a hallmark function is not only for the stimulatory effect of food intake, but is having the effect on fat deposition, growth hormone release. Ghrelin signaling also play a crucial role in the glucose energy homeostasis, cardioprotection, muscle atrophy, bone metabolism, and cancer. But nowadays, as the ghrelin is having this role of happy hormone and this having growth hormone secretogenous receptors, it is a targeted drug development for the happy hormone also. Now, sixth most important is phenylethylamine. This phenylethylamine, it is a drug derived from again phenylalanine. So phenylalanine is most important amino acid residue for the formation of not only that dopamine, but it is important for the formation of this phenylethylamine or phenylethylamine, PEA. So it is derived from with the help of decarboxylase enzymes, and phenylalanine is converted into phenethylamine compound. Now this is whenever this hormone is secreted, you feel some good feeling. So when we get into the early stage of any kind of relationship, in that condition, phenethylamine is produced. This phenethylamine is also rich in the coca bean, and so whenever you are eating this cocoa, then you also feel good. So chocolate, cocoa, all are helpful for the feelingness of good because of rich in phenethylamine compound. So they are organic compound, naturally monoamine alkaloid and trace amine, which act on the central nervous system. So this compound is going to stimulate the brain system. That's why we are feeling good. And this compound, phenethylamine, regulate the monoamine neurotransmission by binding to the trace amine associated receptor and inhibiting the vesicular hormone transporter. And that's why it is act as a neurotransmitter and stimulant for the central nervous system. There are lots of drug available in the for the central nervous system stimulant like amphetamine, hallucinogen, antacogens, appetite suppressant like nasal decongestant, bronchodilator, anti-Parkinsonism drug, vasopressors. All are having different biological target and different functions. Now last, why adrenaline is not considered as a feeling good hormone, even though it is secreted to overcome our fear. So as the adrenaline rush can make you feel temporary good. Whenever you are having stressful condition, this adrenaline is going to release and you can overcome the problem. But whenever this adrenaline is secreted, it is trying to stimulate more and more synthesis of cortisol. And that high cortisol level can affect your memory, fatigue, and mood. And that's why it is not considered as a feeling good hormone. So, in the conclusion, nature selection built a brain. So, means our brain is designed in such a way that makes you feel good when you do things good. Means whenever you are having healthy, happy habits, you are promoting your genes and they are going to produce more and more amount of happy hormones, like dopamine, endorphin, oxytocin, serotonin, ghrelin. But for that, there is no conscious interest is required. So genes are automatically get adapted. Now it is not easy to being mammal. So if you are want to more production, you can be going to cultivating new happy healthy lifestyles. Try to live balanced life. Anything excess is always going to get dangerous. So if you think in the nature also, whenever if it is total every time sunny day, what is going to happen? Everything is going to dry. If every time rainy day, then what is going to happen? Again, flood is going to come. If every time winter, you cannot tolerate the winter. So in that way, brain is the nature decided our brain to adapt with the all the happy and bad moment. But whenever this bad moment is coming, we try to overcome by releasing of all these happy hormone. So anything excess can lead to dangerous. So to remain happy, just you have to go through 3A. One is accept. So if you want to maintain the happy hormones balance, accept everything properly. Nothing is wrong with me. My happy chemicals will drop sometimes, but I will overcome that dropping. It doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong. It means I am mammal among other mammals. So always think like that. Blessing in disguise, positive thinking will give you enough quantity of the dopamine, serotonin in our body. Whenever you are going to second adapt, so adaptation can build a new circuit. So whenever you are trying to make new habits, that will lead to release of all this oxytocin, dopamine in our new circuit, and that can be helpful for the survival. But these, so always try to adapt habit from the childhood. Once you get the puberty, it is very difficult to get the formation of new pathway. That most important is arrange. Means you have, if you are not having that proper adaptation properly, so you can rewire a habit, you can rearrange new circuit will be built if repeat thought or behavior daily for 6 weeks. If you are daily do meditation, cycling, exercising, or whatever dancing, that will going to form a new neural pathway for the release of happy chemicals and you can feel good. So go for yoga, meditation, whatever you like. Your ups and downs are natural in our life. You can learn by the books or other on YouTube, Amazon. So part in this Intermammal Institute Facebook discussion, group discussion, and try to maintain the level of this happy hormones. In summary, what I want to say, dopamine, always make a new goal, try to be a lifelong learner. Oxytocin, love each and every person's. Serotonin, take care of yourself by doing yoga and meditation. Endorphin, you remain happy and make other happy, and that's why you can maintain the happiness in you as well as surroundings. Now let the dying year with all this COVID and any other good memory, make the memory and regret, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, bring home to the unreality or an impermanent world, what we hold. So try to strengthen ourselves to rise above all and maintain the level of this happy hormone message properly. May this new year bring you a success, happiness, and divinity in you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us knowledge on so much things to be happy, how this happiness works in our body, how there is a chemistry of all these hormones which regulates our happiness, our whole system, like immunity, healthiness, etc. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us, uh, for delivering this very nice lecture on how to be happy. Also sharing us the hacks of being happiness. So how to do yoga, do your implementation of very healthy things like yoga, meditation, food, and surrounding in with our uh, social behaviors with other family members, friends, etc. uh, to talk with them, to be with them, and be happy with them. That's a very good reason and hack to be happy. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us. I ask audience if anybody have any question. Anyone have any question? So there are messages coming on from Saista ma'am. Very informative presentation. To you, ma'am. Dr. Satyanath Reddy also is saying it was a great start for a new year. Yes,
Thank you everyone for listening me nicely, coolly, and thank you GV Bhatt sir and
It
whole
was
for
very
giving me
nice, ma'am.
opportunity for this on this platform.
Yeah, it was very nice to hear.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So patience and the start of the new year was very good.
Thank you very
So
much, sir.
patiently you were delivering the lecture. Hope you will conduct many more. And I wish you a very
Thank you,
happy
sir.
new year, ma'am.
Same to you. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us. A very happy new year, a happy 2022 ahead to all of you from APPI Gujarat State branch and Tele Academy and Forum. Thank you so much, everyone. We are also invited for suggestions, and if anybody have any query, you can also mail it us on appigujarat@gmail.com. And also we have invited all of you to share your topics on which we can conduct many more lectures on in upcoming 2022 year. So hope to see you and hear you from. So thank you so much. Let's end it here with all the happiness with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. And may this new year brings all happiness in our life with achieving our all goals.
क्या जाता है 11 तो कैसे बोल